my bosses liked me. I know how to do my job, right? Can be playful sometimes, but I just felt like, you know what, I could take up that role and become associate and, be in a corporate law firm and stuff, right? And then now I'm told that I'm not going to get returned as an associate. But then the tricky part is, and that's the thing, when you try and fight the pivot, you might end up in a very darker place or in a very uncomfortable, painful place. I'm glad I didn't fight the pivot. I'm glad I listened to the latter voice. So when they tell me that they're not going to return me, a part of me wanted to say, oh no, but this, I've got a track record of this and all of that. A voice in me said, just keep quiet. I remember very well that day, my principal kept on asking me, do you have anything to say? Are you sure that you don't have anything to say? I said no. I kept on saying no. But deep down, I wanted to say, oh no, but this, but that. And then I remember when he ended that conversation, he said, oh no, but there's still so many months, we can still change our minds and so would return you. It's entirely also up to you and how you change your attitude with certain things, right? I wanted to fight for that spot. I wanted to hold on to that season or to that era. But a voice in me kept on saying, no, you have to let it go. You can beg your way through, but it's time to change. And I kid you not, that was a turning point of my life. That was a turning point for Employment Wednesdays. That was a turning point for a lot other dreams that I want to achieve. And here's how it is, right? When you look at it, it's like, oh no, technically she got fired. She doesn't have a job anymore. Maybe she's not good enough. But when you look at it right now, you'd realize that when you look at it right now, you realize that it wasn't that I wasn't good enough. It wasn't that I got fired. It wasn't that things are not going to work out for me. It was just a moment where God disrupted my familiarity, disrupted what I thought was the truth, what I thought was there forever. And He said, let me introduce you to a new part. That is where the turning point happens, right? When this turning point happens, I'm thinking, I was worried. I'm going to be unemployed. I'm not going to have a job. If I applied other law firms, they're going to be like, oh, why didn't you get returned? Which means you're not delivering and all of that. And I sat in that moment. It was very uncomfortable. But I say to God, God, here I am. You have disrupted my norm. You have disrupted my familiarity. Take me to a place where I may not understand what you're doing, but I'm going to show up for whatever you want me to show up for. Okay, fast forward. At some point, I had interviewed at a particular company. One thing about me, I have a track record of interviewing at particular companies. And when I don't get the job in the moment, I'll always be called back, right? So I had interviewed previously when I wanted to quit my articles, mid articles, and they were like, okay, you have to start ASP. And at the time, I couldn't start. They said they wanted me to start in December, and I couldn't start in December because I had decided to finish up my articles all the way to April. So they're like, okay, we loved you, but unfortunately, you have to start now. If you're not going to start now, then we can't give you the offer. I'm like, okay, cool, that's fine. Then fast forward, when I'm told that I'm not going to be returned, then I'm like, okay, let me go back to where I was once interviewed. I call the recruiter. I'm like, hey, remember me? You had said I'm the best fit, but now I have capacity, right? And this is me saying I have capacity in January or February. I think it was around February. I tell the recruiter, I'm like, hey, I've got capacity. Please do consider me. I didn't know that the recruiter is going to consider me in that very moment. He says, okay, cool. I'll call you in a week or so. He calls me, and then when he calls me, he's like, hey, are you ready to start in March? I have another predicament because I'm thinking my articles only finish in April. So how am I going to start in March? Then I say to him, oh, no, I can't start in March. I'll have to start in April. Then he says, unfortunately, you have to speak to your manager, then your prospective manager. Then I contact my prospective manager, say, hey, I've got a predicament. I need to finish my articles. I'm happy to take that job. I would like to take that job, but I have to finish my articles. And then after that, the manager's like, oh no, you're putting me in a tough place. If you're not going to start in March, then unfortunately, we cannot take you on. Then I say, okay, that's fine. And when I say, okay, that's fine, she's probably thinking, you are so egocentric. Like, why would you say, okay, fine, the job can go in an economy where unemployment is at its highest, in an economy where like it's hard to get a job, right? So I say to her, it's fine. And in my heart, I was thinking, God, what am I going to do with this turning point of my life? If I'm not going to get returned, I'm turning down a job because I need to complete this very thing that you had previously blessed me with. What am I going to do? Couple of days later, then she calls me. She's like, okay, it's fine. You can start at your convenience. Just complete your articles. As soon as you complete, please come through. And I was like, okay, cool. And guess what? I have mastered in banking law. I'm done with my articles where I did a lot of commercial work. And I was thinking I'm probably going to get another position. My next position is going to be commercial related stuff or corporate related stuff, right? When I get there, I'm thrown into labor. I'm like, what? Labor? What am I going to do here? I'm not a specialist. I'm probably not qualified to be here. The best knowledge I have of labor is probably the 3 months in my articles where I did employment related matters, and the other 1 year in my final year of law where I did labor laws. But I didn't think that was enough. And already that's where my mind was not at. Like my mind wasn't there because I had this big plan for myself to say, you know what, I'm going to be a corporate Betty. I'm going to do this or that. But that got disrupted. And I had no choice than to flow, right? And when that pivot took place, I was happy I have a job. I'm going to be able to pay my bills. At least I'm not part of the statistics. But I was really so not happy. I was like, oh my God, I need to leave this place. Guys, I was like, I need to leave this job right now. I need to find another job. I was applying like crazy, applying like crazy. I wanted to leave. And even my performance at work wasn't so great because I was resisting the change. I was resisting the pivoting point. So the thing about pivoting, because pivoting is a turning point. So when you resist and turn the other way, you are the one that suffers, unfortunately. You are the one that goes through the pain because sometimes you don't have to resist change. You have to flow with it. So because I was resisting change, thinking about where I should be working, applying at banks and all of that, getting rejected getting rejection after rejection, getting offers and being ghosted, attending interviews and being ghosted. This one faithful day, I was just sitting. And I had it was almost as a voice in my heart. I believe that that was the Holy Spirit. Someone would say it's intuition. Somebody will say they were just thinking out loud or reflecting. But for me, it was the Holy Spirit that said, why are you so obsessed with leaving this place? Have you even learned anything? Have you even gotten anything out of this place that you are insisting on leaving so badly that you're hurting yourself? Right now, you're not performing as great at work and you know yourself, you can do better. But because you're so fixated on the former or what you thought you deserved, that you're missing the moment right now. You're missing the turning point of your life. That very moment, I stopped applying and I was like, you know what, the next job that I need to go to, it will find me. Let me just stay in this job, learn as much as I can. At that time, my KPI scores were just dwindling, they were down. By the time I think I finished my 1 year at my job and my position, around about April this year, by the time we hit June on our first cycle of this year, I was one of the best performing people. If you look at my incentive, it's mad business. It's like, what? How did we get here? How did you become so good? Even when we're doing one-on-one evaluations with my manager, she was so excited. Oh my God, your change just went all the way up. And it was all because I changed my perspective. It was all because I yielded to that voice that says, you better stop resisting. I have placed you here because I know that you need to be here. And I started thinking about it. Had I been returned, I was not going to be able to have capacity to sit here and be discussing Employment Wednesday matters, because if you know your job as an attorney, you must always be ready to receive an urgent. You must always be billing billables. You must work under pressure, long hours. I was not going to be able to make this dream, to make Employment Wednesday work, right? And then I thought about it. There's certain events I attended in the past year that helped me actually connect to certain individuals, that helped me learn a lot about myself and be able to grow. Had I still been in that former position, had I been an associate, I don't think I would have been able to enter those spaces. I don't think I would have been able to actually be in those rooms at the time that I was in. So sometimes the turning point, it looks like a storm. It looks like chaos because it turns like a volcano. That's what pivoting looks like. But when it settles, it actually gives you the best you can ever get. It gives you the better than the former. So from all of that, I realized that I really loved my previous job. I really wanted to grow in it. But unfortunately, that all got disrupted. And that's another thing. When you resist pivoting, or when sometimes you're not as attentive, like I said, you need to be attentive and you need to be calculative and strategic to see that it's time to pivot. If you're not calculative or disruptive, Sometimes, if you're not calculative or strategic, sometimes your pivoting is going to be harsher. Your pivoting is going to be so disruptive because maybe you haven't been paying attention. So some people get fired. Use that as a pivoting moment. Let that be a turning point. Some people get retrenched. Some people will have to start businesses. And because God or whatever that you believe in, know that you are not going to leave until you're disrupted. So that disruption, that chaos that's taking place in your career, in your life, take it as a turning point. Make it your central point of unlocking your best possibilities. And another thing I want you to know is that every single thing that happens in your life, in your job, in your career. I know some people feel like you're too educated, you know too much, and you're not supposed to be in certain companies because they're too small. You're bigger than that. Yes, your existence is bigger than whatever you're doing. It's bigger than you even, right? But you need to get to a point where you understand that every single thing that happens in your life, every position that you hold, it is preparing you for your turning point. It is preparing you for your pivoting moment, right? Because if you are not prepared through the certain roles that you take place in, through the certain positions that you have, through the certain companies that you have, you may not be able to operate in the fullness of your next season. So in order for you to operate in the next fullness, in the fullness of your next season, you need to ensure that you allow preparation to take place. You allow yourself to be grilled. You allow yourself to be marinated. You allow yourself to be roasted, because by the time you learned, or by the time you get served by the biggest blessing of your life, you are able to take up space in that position. You are able to do what you're supposed to do, because if you don't position yourself or allow preparation to prepare you, you are going to be in such a dark place. You're going to always be resistant. You're going to always be depressed. Don't let chaos or changes taking place in your life make you feel like you're less than. That moment when you feel like, oh no, my job has come to an end, or the contract has come to an end, don't take it as, oh my God, now I'm part of the stats. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Open your eyes and open your ears and open your heart to the possibility that that could just be the moment where you're supposed to start a business. That could just be the moment where you're supposed to start your own thing. That just could be the moment where you're supposed to polish up your skill, right? And there's a word, like when I was taking a walk this morning, I thought of something. And this word was, do not abscond from your calling, your divine calling, right? And I will then narrate it this way in terms of your career. Do not abscond or resign from what God has called you to, because it's taking longer than anticipated, because it's taking longer than you would have loved it to take, right? Because sometimes we think, I want to be the biggest CEO shot. I want to make executive. I want to be the greatest speaker. But we don't want to go through the process. We don't want to go through the nuances that get us there. We don't want to go through certain things because we feel like, oh no, I've just gotten the knowledge. I need to jump seasons or jump steps. Don't allow yourself to fall into the trap of not wanting to be prepared, or not enjoying the journey, or not enjoying the process in the name of, I just want to get there. Don't quit, nor resign, nor abscond from your calling or your dream job simply because it's not happening at your pace and at your timing. I kid you not. Where you are supposed to be, you will be, regardless of the detours of life, regardless of how lengthy it takes. Sometimes the length, it means you will be more prepared. You will be able to excel beyond what you can imagine, because you were there longer in preparation, because you took your time to actually learn the things that you're supposed to learn. Yeah. So pivoting allows you to grow, right? It allows you to go into the next season of your life, and you just need to embrace every turning point of your life, every turning point of your journey. It will be disruptive. Sometimes it comes in ways that we don't like. Like, nobody wants to be fired. I don't want to be fired. You don't want to be fired. But pivoting may come in that way. Pivoting may come from a place of lack of motivation, lack of inspiration. Pivoting may come from messing up. But when it comes, do not resist it. Let it happen. And don't let it happen to you. Also happen to it. Flow with it. Position yourself and your perspective in a manner where you say, okay, I've messed up. Okay, I'm in a dark place. But may I have the courage and the audacity to flow with the season. May I be able to embrace it for what it is, because life is not out to get you. We are meant to enjoy and live life in fullness with all its challenges, right? And it's important that when you pivot, your mindset, because I mean, there's power in your mind. How you see yourself, how you think, or your thought process of certain things is dependent. How you see yourself, your thought process, your mindset actually determines how you show up in certain things. So if you think you're not good enough, you're going to show up as a person that's not good enough. If you think things are not supposed to work out for you, you are going to show up as that. But if you think highly of yourself, if you think of yourself as a person that is deserving, of a person that is good enough, of a person that is willing to learn, willing to change, willing to pivot, that's how you show up, yeah. So I really hope that from this conversation on pivoting, you do know that no one is keeping count. You're allowed to change your mind. I think I'm always grateful for my parents, because one thing they taught me is that at any point you can become anything you want. If I went home and said I wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to be this, I wanted to be that, they would always support it, because they understand that we are meant to navigate. We are meant to pivot. We are multifaceted human beings, and we need to take advantage of that. So don't box yourself or limit yourself and say, oh no, as a kid all I wanted to be is a doctor, and stay being a doctor when you see it's no longer working or serving you. You might not get the alarm that it's time to pivot or time to change, but you will see the signs. Your eyes need to be wide open so that you don't get the disruptive call of pivoting, because disruption is not always nice, and disruption is it's harsh, because it can disrupt your whole existence. But when you take note of the signals, the signs that are telling you it's time to pivot, you're not interested in waking up early, you're not interested in doing certain things, you go to work, you do your own thing, you're abusing your company resources and all of these things. These are some of the things that tell you that now maybe it's time to go work for a different company. Maybe it's time to start applying for jobs. You've become complacent. You're no longer learning a new thing. Those are some of the signs that will show you that it's time to change. It's time to think about other things that you can do with yourself. Because like I said, you are not just one human being. You are multifaceted. So because you're multifaceted, when that time to change or that time to turn comes, you need to welcome it and embrace it. Excuse me. And when we allow ourselves to pivot, we give ourselves the opportunity to meet our best selves. Don't deprive yourself of that opportunity simply because you feel like you're not good enough, or simply because you're trying to hold on to the former or the past. Let go of the former, let go of the past, and look ahead and allow yourself to embrace the change. I hope this conversation or this topic or the story that I shared about myself having to pivot into an environment I never planned to, I hope it touches you, and I hope it reminds you that there are other things that you can do, and it reminds you that you can learn a new thing, and it reminds you that in the small things, and it reminds you that in the mundane tasks, in that job that you're doing, you feel like maybe you're a cleaner, maybe you're a tea lady, maybe you're a receptionist, you feel like, oh no, I have no purpose whatsoever. That job may just be preparing you for you to build your own empire, to build your own business, to build your own thing. So it is very important that you honor every little title, every little place, every little season, or wherever you are in its fullness, so that you can be able to learn from it, so that you can be prepared to enter into the next season. And with that being said, I hope you enjoy season 2. I hope it's everything that you dream of. I hope it changes how you see life, and I hope it changes how you see your career, your job, because there is a difference between a job and a career. And we start building our careers from the jobs we get. Might not be the dream job, but that job will help you build the blocks into the career of your dreams, right? So I hope you know that you can change your mind, pivot as much as you need to, do what you got to do, and always remember you are never alone. You're always gracefully anchored. And happy Employment Wednesdays. See you next week. Tell me your changing story or your pivoting story of your career that made you realize, you know what, I can do anything. Do not forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment, and love and light. See you next week.